For a lot of rappers, the braggadocious lyrics and thugged out personality they tout in their music is nothing more than an exaggerated image designed to sell records and build hype. If we're being real, you could count on one hand the amount of rappers who actually live what they rap about. Calvin Broadus Jr., aka Snoop Dogg, is one of them. For the Dogfather, life imitates art, and the legendary MC's ties to the streets were as real as they were dangerous. Before his rise in the rap game, Snoop was a California native who wound up getting involved in the growing street violence and gang life of LA. While today, you're more likely to see Snoop on cooking shows with Martha Stewart or in Comedy Central roasts with Justin Bieber, the Doggystyle MC was once a bona fide Crip, holding it down in Long Beach and stepping to whoever he had problems with. For a time in the 90s, it seemed like no matter how big Snoop got, he couldn't outgrow his street tendencies, and the Long Beach MC's rap sheet has grown to be almost as long as his discography. From an early arrest for cocaine possession as a teen, his infamous murder trial, and countless run-ins with foreign authorities as he toured the world, Snoop Dogg just can't seem to stay out of trouble. But Snoop wasn't always the gangster we know him as today. Back in the 80s, Snoop, or Calvin as he once went by, was described as being a dedicated student and frequent churchgoer, active in choir and football. As a kid, Snoop showed signs of the hustle that would later make him millions, as he took on a number of small jobs to help support his family. From selling candy, delivering newspapers, and bagging groceries, Calvin did what he could to earn a little extra cash and help his moms out during a tough time. But no amount of clean money could keep Snoop out of trouble forever, as eventually he would join a local street gang and begin engaging in unlawful activities. As the rapper put it, East LA was a dangerous place for a young black male to grow up in, and Snoop found safety as well as opportunity in a gang. He would eventually become a member of the Rolling 20s, a Crips gang from the east side of Long Beach. Snoop wasn't the only rapper to rep RTC, as the likes of Nate Dogg, C-Note, and Daz Dillinger also had ties to the organization. Before Snoop was going platinum and touring the world, the Gin and Juice MC was a high schooler just trying to get his GED. Calvin attended Long Beach Polytechnic High School, where he realized he had a gift for rap. When I rapped in the hallways at school, I would draw such a big crowd that the principal would think there was a fight going on. It made me realize that I had a gift. When Snoop wasn't freestyling in the corridors and impressing his classmates with his clever wordplay, he was making money. Snoop sold weed and cocaine to classmates and people around his neighborhood as a way of making some extra cash. Cameron Diaz even admitted to buying weed from Snoop when they were both at school together. But shortly after graduating, Calvin's luck would start to run out as he was arrested for possession of cocaine. This encounter would kickstart a recurring relationship between Snoop and the LAPD, as over the next 3 years, Snoop would find himself in and out of Wayside Jail for a string of crimes as his involvement with the LA Crips grew. A year after his arrest, Snoop would face his first conviction: felony possession of drugs and possession for sale. It wouldn't be long though until the possession of drugs charge was the least of Snoop's problems. In July of 1993, the Drop It Like It's Hot rapper found himself in more hot water after he was stopped for a traffic violation. Upon searching his vehicle, the officer discovered an unlicensed firearm. It wouldn't be until much later that Snoop went to trial for the incident, where he pleaded guilty to possession of a handgun and was ordered to complete 800 hours of community service, pay a $1,000 fine, serve 3 years probation, and record 3 public service announcements. At this point, Snoop's career was just beginning to take off. By 1993, Uncle Snoop had already attracted the attention of the West Coast's greatest producer, Dr. Dre, and was in the process of recording his debut studio album, the critically acclaimed Doggystyle. You'd think with so much support from the industry and a chance to make it big, Snoop would be able to put his head down and keep out of trouble. As the world came to find out, he wasn't. Just a few months after he was stopped for a traffic violation, Snoop Dogg was arrested in connection with the murder of a rival gang member. This time, things were serious, and it seemed like everything Snoop had worked so hard to get was about to be taken away from him. In the afternoon of August 25, 1993, while Snoop was temporarily living in an apartment complex in the Palms neighborhood of LA, he heard a noise coming from the street outside. Snoop's bodyguard, McKinley Malik Lee, went outside to check it out, while the rapper watched from the window. Malik found a carload of gang members belonging to the Yourself Hustlers, arguing with one of Snoop's longtime friends, Sean Abrams. With the arrival of Malik at the scene, the argument ended and the gang members drove off in their car. From the window, Snoop thought he recognized one of the guys as Philip Walder Merriam, a 20-year-old Ethiopian immigrant who had threatened Snoop with a pistol at a video shoot previously. Later that day, Snoop along with Malik and Abrams went out for a drive in the rapper's Jeep when they encountered Walder Merriam and his crew sitting in the Palms Park. Snoop didn't hesitate and accelerated toward them before stopping his car abruptly. The gangbangers, noticing the Jeep, looked up from their Mexican food and locked eyes with Snoop and Malik. Walder Merriam stood up, mean-mugging the young, wild, and free rapper. Malik and Snoop looked back, daring the gangbangers to do something. Walder Merriam spoke. "What the f***? I'm not trying you all. I'm just trying to let you know where you're at." Malik, angered by Walder Merriam's boldness, stood up in the topless Jeep, towering over everyone and staring down at the Yourself Hustlers. Walder Merriam became agitated and shouted out, "Oh what, so I'm a punk now?" Malik kept it simple, responding to Walder Merriam's assertion with a "what?" Now what happened next differs depending on who you ask. According to Jason London, a Yourself Hustler and one of the guys present during the shooting, it was after Malik stood up in the Jeep that he took out a pistol and aimed it at Walder Merriam. But according to Malik, it was Walder Merriam who made the first move, reaching into his waistband to grab the concealed .380 he carried. Malik fired from the Jeep and Walder Merriam fell to the ground before he was able to draw. Snoop banged on the accelerator and got the hell out of there while Walder Merriam lay dying, face down in a pool of his own blood. After the incident, Snoop, Malik, and Sean went into hiding, fearing retaliation from the Yourself Hustlers. Snoop would eventually turn himself in, but only after the MTV Music Video Awards, and it wouldn't be till 1995 that Snoop's trial would begin. By this time, Snoop had already released 3 studio albums, all of which had rocketed the LAMC into superstardom. Unlike so many gangster rappers of the time, Snoop really lived his raps, and while his court case battled on, the Dogfather's reputation grew alongside his record sales. A racially diverse jury could not find Snoop or Malik guilty of murder, as the pair argued that they had acted in self-defense against a man who was carrying a gun and had intended to kill them. This was despite the fact that a gun was not discovered on Walder Merriam's body at the time of his death. Sometime after the trial had began, Jason London testified that Walder Merriam had been carrying a pistol and that the gun had been removed from his person after his death in an effort to protect him. Ultimately, however, it wasn't new evidence or a convincing argument from their lawyers that saved Snoop's ass, but actually the LAPD's incompetence. During the trial, it was revealed that the LAPD had mishandled evidence, destroying Walder Merriam's clothing, bullets, and shell casings from the scene. The LAPD's actions were so frustrating that upon hearing about the mishandled evidence, the jury reportedly rolled their eyes. But lucky for Snoop, it meant that he and his bodyguard were acquitted, and before long they were back on the streets. Throughout the whole trial, Snoop maintained his evidence. Now iconic pictures of the MC with his hands clasped together in prayer show the rapper's relief of being acquitted of murder. You'd think after narrowly avoiding a murder sentence, Snoop would sort himself out. With his rap career only growing, he now had so much to lose. He married his high school sweetheart Shantae Taylor in 1997, and for the next few years focused on making music and staying out of trouble. But the street life was too much a part of Snoop for him to ignore it forever, and he would continue to have run-ins with the law throughout his career. 2006 saw the Doggy Pound rapper in trouble both at home and abroad. In April, Snoop and members of his entourage were arrested after being turned away from a British Airways first-class lounge in London. The Long Beach native and his party were turned away because members of their group were flying economy and therefore did not have access to the first-class lounge. After being escorted outside, the group got into a fight with police and vandalized a duty-free shop. Several police officers were injured during the arrest, and after a night in jail, Broadus and the other men were released on bail. A month later, the British Home Office decided that Snoop would be denied entry into the United Kingdom for the foreseeable future, and his British visa was denied the following year. Snoop and his crew were also banned from flying with British Airways. The rapper would not be allowed back into the UK until 2010, when his visa was reinstated. In September of that same year, Snoop was detained at John Wayne Airport in California after police found a collapsible police baton in his carry-on bags. While they argued the baton was a part of a prop for a music video, the courts didn't buy it, and Snoop was sentenced to 3 years probation and 160 hours community service. Only a month later, Snoop was again arrested, this time at the Bob Hope Airport in Burbank after being stopped for a traffic infraction. He was arrested for possession of a firearm, again, and in suspicion of transporting an unspecified amount of that sweet Mary Jane. Things didn't stop there for Snoop though. A year later, Snoop was banned from entering Australia on character grounds, citing his prior criminal convictions. The ban was lifted in 2008 after the Australian Department of Immigration and Citizenship reassessed his case. In 2012, Snoop was banned from entering Norway for 2 years after coming into the country with 8 grams of weed and a bunch of undeclared money. In 2015, while performing in Sweden, Snoop was pulled over and detained by Swedish police for allegedly using illegal drugs. Because of a Swedish law enacted in 1988, the recreational use of illegal drugs extended to anyone simply under the influence of said drug. Snoop, the avid cannabis smoker he is, was targeted and taken to a police station where he was made to take a drug test. While the test results pointed towards Snoop having used drugs, the charges were ultimately dropped because they could not prove Snoop was in Sweden when he took said drugs. Snoop criticized the Swedish police and accused them of racial profiling, and he announced to his Swedish fan base he would not be going on tour in the country again because of the incident. In 2022, a woman sued Snoop for $10 million for allegedly sexually assaulting her all the way back in May of 2013. A source representing Snoop denied the allegations, but this isn't the first time the MC has been accused of inappropriate behavior, as he was also sued in 2005 for a similar thing. The suit is currently ongoing, and Snoop has made no public comments on the situation. It seems that no amount of fame, money, or success can bring Snoop out of that street life mindset he developed as a youngin'. While none of his recent run-ins with the law have been as serious and potentially career-ending as his 1996 murder trial, his repeated criminal history has surely got to catch up to the MC sooner or later. But what do you think? Will Snoop stay out of trouble now he's getting older? Or is the Dog Pound MC doomed to repeat his sins over and over again? Either way, over the years, the LA artist has shown us all one thing. No matter where you go or how big you get, you can take the dog out of Long Beach, but you can't take the Long Beach out of the Snoop Doggy Dogg. Thanks for watching.